Every now and again in your hiking experiences, you'll come across a point when you need to cross a river. Now, crossing a river can be quite hazardous and quite dangerous, especially when the water is very fast flowing or very cold, but it's a critical skill to have and to know in terms of being aware and mindful of all the things that you do before you get into the water, and then all the things that you need to do when you actually are in the water. So what I'm going to show you in this video are my core tips on how to cross a river as safely as possible. Okay, first two tips, and probably most important ones. Number one, do your homework, and number two, don't take any risks. Number one, do your homework. Before you even leave the house, check where you're going, check if there's going to be any rivers that you need to cross, and then check the weather for at least a week beforehand to see if there's been any bad weather, any heavy rain, anything like that. If it's a national park, also contact the national park or go on their website and see if there's any information that you could get from their website or from speaking to someone. And number two, don't take any unnecessary risks. I'd rather finish a hike early if a river is too difficult to cross, or it looks too risky or too dangerous. It's just not worth the effort. It's not worth the risk to your life, and it's not worth the risk to other people's lives if you have to call for search and rescue and put other people potentially in jeopardy to try and come and rescue you because you've been silly in your decisions. So they're my first two primary tips. My next tip is to find a good stick. Now I'm lucky in the fact that where I'm at the moment is that there's a lot of pushed over trees and dead wood where I can find something. You need a stick to act as a third point of contact with the ground, the bed of the river as you're crossing. It gives you a lot more stability. And literally just by the side of me here, there's a lovely big stick that I'm going to use. It's already there. I haven't had to waste any energy trying to find or rip down a stick or anything like that. It's a good little spot to find sticks. Okay, I found a really good piece of the river here. It doesn't look too fast flowing and it doesn't look too deep, and that's my next tip, is to assess the situation. Sometimes when you're on a path and it takes you towards a river, it's not necessarily the best or most efficient way to get across. So assess the situation, have a look upstream and both downstream, and see if there's a better way of crossing. What I'm looking for is something that's not too deep. Ideally, I don't want to go over waist high in water, and it's not running too quickly, so it's a bit of a smoother flow to the current. Further upstream, it's a lot deeper, but there's less current, and further downstream, it's a faster current, and it's probably about the same depth from what I can tell. So this to me feels like a good spot to cross. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is test the current, and all I've got is 3 pieces of stick. We've broken off the deadwood here. I'm just going to throw them in and see how quickly the current is moving, and sort of if there's any flows to the current, and if it's moving in any sort of different directions down the river. And that way I can assess if this is a good spot and the speed of the river compared to other areas of the river. Okay, so from the 3 sticks, the short throw here, the medium throw, and then the long throw, it's definitely quickest in the middle, and it's less quick on the far side than it is on the near side here. So I can start to get a mental image in my head of how I need to get across this river now. Okay, the next tip is to assess how you're going to actually get out of the river. A lot of people neglect this fact a little bit, and that they tend to go gung-ho across the river and then realise that they've got a mad scramble on the bank on the other side to try and get out. So once you've worked out a good spot where you think it's safe to cross, have a look on the other side and see where you're going to actually climb out. Now obviously over this bit here there's a dead tree that's fallen down. I do not want to be crossing at any point along here because I'm going to have to try and get through that tree there, so it's a no-no. A little bit further down, you can just see here is a little river bank. Might be a good point to get a crossing there, but the river is really fast and actually quite deep at that point there as well. So what I'm actually looking for here is the spot that I've found. My bag is just there. I'm actually going to be looking to cross here and go on a diagonal and get across to that river bank over there as well. And just from looking at the water, the sun shining down on the water, it looks like that is probably the best route to go. It's not too fast flowing, like I said earlier, and it's also not too deep. My next tip is to always make sure that you got something on your feet. Now, if I know that I'm going to be potentially crossing a river, or there's an opportunity for me to have a swim when I get to a campsite, something like that, I always take a pair of these, and they're just a cheapo pair of sort of water sports, outdoor, rubbery soled type little shoes. I think I bought these on sale from Anaconda for like 10 bucks or something like that. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but as long as it's got a decent sole, the rocks and the things that you can't see underwater, bits of wood, sharp rocks and things like that, the last thing you want to do is cut your foot and cut it badly. So always try and wear something on your feet as you're crossing, even if it means you have to get your main boots wet. I'd rather have wet boots and they dry out over the course of the day and overnight, rather than cutting my feet to shreds on a riverbed that I don't know, and there's hidden obstacles and things. Okay, last couple of tips before we get wet. Loosen and remove any of the buckles on the rucksack that you're carrying, and that means even loosening the straps here on your shoulders. That's just in case if you do stack it and fall in a river. There has been cases where people have actually got their backpack caught on things under the water and they've been pulled down and they've drowned. So loosen everything off, so if you need to get out of this quickly, you can do. This is also really important, not just for river crossing, but when you're crossing frozen lakes and things like that as well. If you stack it and go through, you've got to get everything off as quickly as possible to give you a chance of getting out. So loosen everything off. And then the final thing is, if you've got any valuables, like mobile phones, car keys, things like that, prepare them to get wet just in case you do stack it. I always use a double Ziploc bag here, and I make sure that it's nice and padded down, and then I put that in my rucksack as well, just in case. Okay, time to get wet. I've assessed the situation, I know where I'm going and what part of the opposite side of the bank I'm going to get to. I've loosened all my rucksack and things so I can ditch it if necessary. I've secured all my valuables and put them in a Ziploc bag as well. I've got my nice big Gandalf stick and I'm ready to cross. And the idea is that you keep an equilateral triangle between the stick at the front and your 2 feet at the back. And you can lean into the stick a little bit. It's ideal if you can get one just a little bit bigger than yourself so you can rest it on your shoulder and lean into it a little bit. If the current is coming obviously downstream, you want to be leaning into that current a little bit just to give yourself that bit of leverage. But try and keep the weight as distributed as evenly as possible across those 3 points. Reason is if one of those points slips and you've got a lot more weight on it, you've got more chance of stacking it into the water. So try and keep your weight distributed evenly, and then just take your time, shuffle across, move the stick first and then shuffle your feet, and then move the stick first and shuffle your feet again, and keep going like that across the river. Always face upriver, so you can see any debris or any obstacles and things that you need to avoid or to deal with, and just take your time. If it looks like it's getting too deep or it's getting too hairy, then come back. You don't have to do it in one hit. Come back, assess the situation again, and find another spot. But I'm going to head across now. We'll see how we go. there you go, safely across. Once you do get to the other side, if you think there's a chance that you might forget or not be able to find the location where you crossed, the safe place where you crossed, then mark it out with a cairn or something like that. It's always good to have that reference point just in case you're tired on the way back, or potentially it could be dark or something like that, even worse, and you need to find that spot where you need to cross back. But that's it basically. Once you cross to the other side, change back in your dry boots and carry on enjoying your hike. I hope you found that this video useful. If you've got any other points, anything that I've missed, just let me know in the comments below. Thanks.